The race for the championship continues on here at Portland for round 20 of the 2022 championship season. Coming into this race, Jake Bassinger took his third win of the season and, well, the second Triple Crown win of this season. He won the Daytona 500, then he won at Darlington. Indianapolis was won by Dylan Schwallenberg, and Schwallenberg will be looking to try and get back in the championship mix. He is 23 points behind, but in between Schwallenberg and Bassinger is DJ Curtis, and Curtis could be a driver to look out for today's race. Many people point to DJ Curtis as a road course ringer, and, well, with only 20 points behind Jake Bassinger in the championship standings, this would be a great day for him to try and make up ground in the championship. Dejon Weeks, Cody Lamas making up the top 5. All 5 drivers theoretically could take the championship lead, leaving today's race. But after this race, it'll only be 6 races to go in the championship for the 2022 season. It is all hands on deck down there on the grid when it comes to trying to get these cars set up and these drivers favorable rides for the remainder of the season. And, well, on pole, Joseph Srigley in his 86 Gigabyte Trans Am Pontiac is on the pole alongside of James Shelley. And Srigley surprised a lot of people in qualifying by taking pole position, but he's always ran well on the road courses. He practiced well and obviously qualified very good. And a lot of drivers behind him that has been very quick. You know, Charles Sanford was fastest in practice, and Srigley's teammate, Charlie Smith, he's always been good on the road courses. He's finished second, as high as second in the Sony Cup Series on a road course, but never a race winner. He'll start in 5th position today. Jesse Tunner's in 4th. He's still looking for that first win of the 2022 season. Could it happen today? Let's get down to start the race. As the field makes its way down this long back straight, which it's not even really a straight, kind of turning right all the way around the corner. James Shelley in car 71 looking to make up positions in the championship. He's had a very rough season. Shelley has dropped down to 15th in the point standings. And the difference between Tunner and Srigley, which is 10th to 11th in the championship standings, is a 52-point gap. And they're both on row 1 and row 2. Joseph Srigley has a good opportunity for today's race to try and get his first Sony Cup Series win. The green flag flies. We're racing at Portland. Srigley and Shelley door to door heading down into turn 1. Now, we've only been here one time. It was down in 2019. And further back in the field, it's always been very treacherous. And I think there's a car spinning. Samuel England in car 82. England in the 82 car has spun around in turns 1 and 2. From a good day at Darlington to off on the wrong foot here at Portland. Everyone's just all on top of each other. And look at Curtis, very aggressive there. He gets into Jeff James, which spins James down into the 82, and there was carnage up ahead. Vince Freeze there. There's the 79 of Bobby Jones involved. Jeffrey White in the 11 hitting the 82 as well, as everyone trying to escape their way through the carnage. And here's what happened in front of DJ Curtis and Jeff James. Dylan Schwallenberg, Alex Benyako, Jacob Hart, they all kind of rubbed doors there. Schwallenberg went off the course a little bit. Benyako and Jacob Hart trying to get back on the racetrack. And lucky there wasn't an accident between the 61 and the 8. We didn't talk about this guy a whole lot in the pre-race show. But Ryan Butcher, the guy that really took it to Luke Martin in the Napa Truck Series last season. A lot of people rate him highly in the FBRL as a talented race car driver. He's over there at the SkyTech Racing Alliance as one of their drivers. Here comes Charles Sanford looking to make a pass there. Srigley leads lap 1. Jesse Tunner has worked his way into 2nd. James Shelley back to 3rd. But Ryan Butcher for CM Racing inside the top 5 here at Portland at the end of lap 1. Since Griffin decided he was going to step down from full-time competition for the remainder of this season and go racing in the Napa Truck Series in the lower categories of the FBRL for next season. The 3 car has been vacant for anybody to step in, and we've seen a few drivers step in and run very well in this 3 car. And Kyle Collins, he ran top 5 at some point at Darlington. And, well, Ryan Butcher inside the top 5. You got to think the main goal for him is just to get experience against the Cup guys, but he's putting it to him today. He's qualified well, and he's hanging on strong at the end of lap 2. We're hearing there was an incident between James Silverfox and Richard Johnson. Silverfox, he has not had a whole lot of luck in the FBRL as of late, but I think he actually gets into Richard Johnson. Richard had a good, oh no, it was Alex Bignacco. They were all kind of bumper to bumper. It was Johnson, Silverfox, and Bignacco. And, well, Silverfox and Richard Johnson unfairly got spun in into the grass area. And, well, Johnson and Silverfox deciding to re-enter the track in different ways. But either way works, but it's going to severely hurt both drivers. And now they're at the tail end of the field. There's been another accident on the racetrack. Looks like Vince Freeze got hooked by Kyle Collins into Will Goss. Another race weekend where Goss is just unlucky there. Got spun off the course. Can't really get an angle of Will Goss, but he's going to continue on. And Vince Freeze, who was battling to get in the top 20, gets dumped by the 93 car. Kyle Collins ran really well at Darlington. He qualified out back. And, well, Collins, he's on the march. He's doing a fantastic job for Shade Bignacco right now. Here's an onboard between Collins, Freeze, and Will Goss. Freeze kind of slid a little bit. Collins took his opportunity to get the inside. And 3 cars wasn't going to go in the final corner. But Collins moves up another couple spots. Passing opportunities are kind of far and few between here at Portland, but Matthew Rodriguez senses an opportunity to take the rookie by storm to the outside of Ryan Butcher. Eric DeMack's teammate to Butcher is also looking to follow an ex-teammate of Rodriguez. And this is for 5th position. Butcher down to 7th. DeMack's up to 6th. And Matthew Rodriguez, it's good to see this kind of performance out of him. It's been a while since Matthew Rodriguez has been a real strong arm driver in the Sony Cup Series. Since the summer break has not been the season the 9 team would have really hoped for, as they really were hoping for a championship run for this season, but just doesn't look like it's going to be. But the championship leader right now, Jake Bassinger, is also looking to try and pass the youngster of Ryan Butcher. Can't quite do it there, but Jake Bassinger running in the solid top 10 position at this moment. Behind him, Dejon Weeks in car 30. He's got a little ways to go. He's looking to get past Jeff James to get inside the top 10. Sean Harple. And then it's Dylan Schwallenberg. Schwallenberg in the 10 didn't qualify all that well. Had a little bit of an issue at the start of the race. He went off course. Luckily was able to keep it going. DJ Curtis in car 19. And for Curtis, the entire Mercedes. Oh! Sean Harple! Harple gets spun by Dylan Schwallenberg. Schwallenberg is trying to get up there and race with his championship rivals of Weeks and Bassinger, and hooks a fellow Hardy's champion. And Harple's got to slowly regroup and get back on the racetrack. United Emirates Racing definitely having a terrible outing so far today. Sean Harple, very clearly there, left reared by Dylan Schwallenberg. Harple cannot be pleased with that at all. It has been a while since Harple's been very competitive. UER has kind of struggled in the mid part of the season in trying to run up front. And Harple, he did very well at Watkins Glen. And a lot of people expected for Sean Harple and team to be quick here at Portland as well. But he's got a long ways to go now for even further back in the field. So we look to complete 10 laps into this race. Joseph Srigley has led since the get-go, but Charles Sanford is looking to take 2nd position away from Jesse Turner. Srigley, Turner, and Sanford are the best cars on the racetrack. James Shelley, Matthew Rodriguez, Eric DeMax, that's all the way down to 6th. But Sanford in his Pontiac trying to get alongside into 2nd position. Turner trying to fight it. Srigley looking for his first win this season. Sanford's looking for his first win since 2020 at Talladega back in the spring, and he's easily going to get that position. The Red Bulls looked very quick all race weekend here at Portland, and they even looked fast at Darlington. And for Sanford, he's got 2 consecutive top 10 finishes. Top 10 at Michigan, top 10 at Darlington. So Red Bull Racing have been moving forward in their progress and getting quicker and better. Sanford's into 2nd. Shelley, Rodriguez, that's the top 5. Eric DeMax down to 6th. And Butcher still doing really well early on in the race, but we still have a long ways to go. Jake Bassinger, championship leader, still in 8th. Marchese, Jeff James. James in the 18 car, and Srigley, Joseph Srigley Racing, They're still looking for their first top 10 of the season, and James is trying to hold off some hungry competitors behind him. Dejon Weeks, Dylan Schwellenberg, and DJ Curtis. We'll look a little further back. Zayden Davidson in the 91. And Cybertron Motorsports was very fast on the road courses last season, but the road courses have not really fared them all that well as they try and get settled with Mercedes. And when they get the next gen next season, it'll be a new platform for everybody. But Dylan Young in the 16 is in 15th position, had a win slip through his fingers there at Darlington. Top 15, eyeing up the top 10 run again here today. Jacob Hart just behind him for Team Velocity. Cody Lamas not really running all that well for Curtis Racing right now. Jeffrey White's even deeper in the field. Alex Peñaco, his teammates are up front. Cole Baker and Charlie Smith, that is the top 20. Don Capps, Kyle Collins, Peter Onjak, Bobby Jones, Mitchell Collins, that is the top 25. Then it's John Art. His teammate Chris Dodd's back here, 0-3. Patrick Smith for this race weekend, Jeffrey White, and Sean Harple. Harple's been trying to claw his way back through the field, but it's just been little to no fault of his own. Then Vince Freeze, Matt DeLeo, Ryan Acosta, Stephen Pollard III, Will Goss, the inside of Logan Cloud, Lars Van Schaik, Richard Johnson, and James Sorfox. That is everyone that is on the lead lap. But at the lead, Joseph Srigley's lead is shrinking. Here comes Charles Sanford. Jacob Hart's been doing a pretty good job racing with Dylan Young and for Team Velocity against Turner Performance Racing. Many people look at Team Velocity as the sister team to Turner Performance Racing, but Team Velocity, they'll be branching out, no longer under the umbrella that is Turner Performance Racing. They'll be aligned with Martin Motorsports, and Jacob Hart door to door with Dylan Young. This is only for 15th position, but it's a statement by Jacob Hart to pass Dylan Young, and up into 15th position. Car 61 is going to get the advantage and move Jacob into 15th. A little deeper in the pack, Dylan Schwellenberg has picked his way through of Dejon Weeks and has now moved his way into the top 10, past of Jeff James. And Schwellenberg, slowly but surely, getting on the back end of his teammate Anthony Marchese, but he has that 97 just up ahead of him that he's more concerned about. Here comes Schwellenberg to the back bumper of Anthony Marchese for ninth. The bumper down in turn one. And Dylan Schwellenberg almost moves his teammate almost out of the way into the grass. But Schwellenberg, very persistent, working over his teammate Anthony Marchese, and he had an easier pass than normal, but he did rough up his teammate Anthony Marchese just a little bit to make sure he was going to get by him, and that was only to get into ninth. And now, right behind 8th place, Jake Bassinger. Schwellenberg has closed right in on the back bumper of Jake Bassinger, but further ahead, race for 4th position, Eric DeMax and James Shelley. Shelley giving DeMax all the room in the world. This is for 4th position. Sanford has not been able to do anything with Joseph Srigley. Srigley has led all 18 laps so far, and lap traffic will be coming up just ahead. Daniel Bouchard, who has failed to qualify for a handful of races lately and has struggled to get that 84 car in the field. Turner's falling off the front too a little bit. 4th, 5th, and 6th, they've been nose to tail for majority of this race. Here comes Schwellenberg. Schwellenberg does have the advantage, gets pied. Jake Bassinger. Bassinger looks like he has an issue. He's offline, but he keeps on going. Gets right in front of Anthony Marchese. Dylan Schwellenberg has a fast race car. Every point's going to matter in this championship bid. He runs a little wide there behind Ryan Butcher. Any point possible is you got to take it when you're out there. And I'm surprised that Jeff James is still in the way of Dejon Weeks. Weeks cannot get by the 18 of Jeff James. That is 11th, 12th, and then 13th and 14th, the Mercedes boys. And Jacob Hart's doing a phenomenal job reeling in the leaders. He just pulled away from Dylan Young. He's in 15th position as Hart. And, well, Hart could be on the cards of trying to fight for a top 10 today. Here's a battle a little further back for 25th position. Patrick Smith gets in the back end of John Art, and Sean Harple in the back end of Patrick Smith. And a bunch of damage now to the front end of Sean Harple's Mercedes. And while Patrick Smith, not a whole lot of damage, but does have some back-end damage now. But he moves his way into the top 25. And for the 0-3, they're the highest running part-time entry in the owner points. And that charter fight is still very important. And, well, the 0-3 is running very strongly today. At the front of the field, Charles Sanford right on the back end of Joseph Srigley. Sanford takes a peek to the inside. Srigley blocks it, but a bumper to the back end of the 86. Here comes Sanford. Two Pontiacs racing at the front of the field for possibly the final time, one of the final times in the series, as Pontiac will not be back for next season and likely will never be back. But Sanford powers his way past of Joseph Srigley. Srigley very wide, allows Jesse Turner to close that gap for second position, but Sanford is gone. Wow, the gap Charles Sanford is trying to pull against Joseph Srigley. He was very quick, but he was held up behind the 86 for a long time. Just very difficult to make a pass here at Portland. Only the second time these drivers ever been here. That's the top three. Eric DeMax has pulled a big gap. He's in fourth position, but for fifth, Dylan Schwallenberg looking to try and pass James Shelley. Schwallenberg looks like he's going to get that position. He's got a fast race car today to the outside of 71. And Dylan Schwallenberg going to take this position away and move Schwallenberg up into fifth place. What a spin! A crash! Matt Rodriguez and James Shelley have spun off the course. That is sixth and seventh place. That just spun Rodriguez and James Shelley trying to get back on the course. When Schwallenberg had just made a pass on James Shelley, Matt Rodriguez just mistimed it, like got into the right rear. Minimum damage to both the 9 and the 71. But Rodriguez and Shelley going to lose positions on the racetrack. And, well, track position is very key here at Portland because it already is kind of difficult to make a pass. And Rodriguez and Shelley have taken themselves out of the top 10. We are now halfway in the race. And, well, with Shelley and Rodriguez, it's been a topsy-turvy season for both Rodriguez and Shelley. Rodriguez has been a little more consistent than James Shelley, but Shelley, it's more about bad luck for him being in accidents. If he's not wrecked, he's running really well, and to be 15th in the championship really sucks for him because it doesn't show on the score sheet just how great James Shelley's season has been. And, well, it's been just a tale of both halves, really, with James Shelley this season. But halfway in the race, pit stop should be coming up very shortly. And, well, they went 30 laps, so going to have to see what they do for strategy here. They're going to run a little longer than normal. Srigley and Turner, that is second and third. Eric DeMax is in fourth. Dylan Schwallenberg has been one of the best cars out there today. He's in fifth position. Ryan Butcher's been holding up a train of cars. There's a few drivers out there, Ryan Butcher and Dylan Young, who have kind of held up a big, large pack of drivers, keeping them all packed together. Jake Bassinger, Anthony Marchese, Jeff James, and Dejon Weeks, the top 10. Then Curtis, Davidson, and Jacob Hart have closed in. And then there's the 9 and the 71. I think both, well, Rodriguez is pitted, or Shelley is pitted, Rodriguez is not. And then there's Dylan Young, who has held up a lot of race cars as well. Still a long ways to go in this race as the race for the championship continues on. Problem for Dylan Schwallenberg. Schwallenberg in the 10 has tangled with Lars Van Shake, and that's a ton of front-end damage. A championship contender. Past halfway here at Portland or coming down pit road. Dylan Schwallenberg was running inside the top 5 and right-reared Lars Van Shake. Tried to miss the 59 after hitting him. And it's just not the same as what it was with Sean Harpel. Harpel got spun by Dylan Schwallenberg, and Lars Van Shake got spun by Dylan Schwallenberg. But this time, a ton of damage to the front end of the 10. And there's Jake Bassinger getting passed by Dejon Weeks. Another championship contender. Oh, no, Weeks can't quite make the pass. But for Weeks and Curtis, it's desperate needs for them to try and make up positions and points on Jake Bassinger. And for Dylan Schwallenberg, he's changing tires. He's changing tires while getting damage repair. And, well, he's got to try and make it on a one-stop. And perfect timing, really, for Dylan Schwellenberg. You see some drivers coming down pit road. There's Matt Rodriguez on pit road. They took the hood off the 10 car, changed tires, and filled it up. So Dylan Schwellenberg has made his scheduled pit stop while doing damage repair immediately after being involved in the accident. So while he has lost a lot of time, really, it's still damage limitation for car 10. Lars Van Schaik really holding up a lot of these drivers further back. Ryan Butcher in the 3s looking for a safe way to pass Lars Van Schaik. Van Schaik's just very slow. Oh my goodness, it's a wonder if they haven't wrecked already. Dylan Schwellenberg didn't have as much patience as Ryan Butcher and the rest of the field behind him. And there's Anthony Marchese ducking out, Jeff James, and then there's Jake Bassinger. Weeks just behind Bassinger. You have to try and make up every position you can because you don't need to be losing points at this stage in the championship race. Curtis in car 19 has moved his way into the top 10. And Jacob Harton's car 61, there he is, just outside of the top 10 as well. I'm very impressed with the pace on that 10 car. Dylan Schwellenberg with no hood on that car is going to the inside of Charles Sanford to unlap himself. That just goes to show you what tires will do. He just gets back on the gas a whole lot much quicker than the 83. Sanford at this point in the race is looking on par to get his 20th Sony Cup Series career win. It's been a long time for Sanford since grabbing a race win. We don't look at Sanford all that often anymore as this guy's going to win races, but he's an experienced driver. He's been around for many years now. Over 20 seasons he's been in the Sony Cup Series, and he's one of the most experienced out there. Well, for Red Bull Racing, it's just not been the kind of runs they would have liked. There's more cars on pit road. You see Curtis is on pit road. Dejon Weeks is on pit road. Still, the race leader has yet to pit, and we have about 22 laps to go. We're hearing there's been an accident with Stephen Paul III. He's been sitting on pit road, but here is the accident. And Stephen Paul III gets right reared by Charles Sanford and slams the concrete wall. Shades of Zachary Fitzwater from the last time we were here, and it's a wonder that the officials have not put a safer barrier or a tire barrier of some sort down there. We saw what happened with Zachary Fitzwater 3 seasons ago when we came to this racetrack, and he had that awful collision with the wall that put him out of the race and put him out of the season. And Stephen Paul III has taken one of the most brutal wrecks I've seen at Portland. Here's another view of it. And Sanford just trying to find a way to get around him. Just gets into him. And Pollard, big hit. That angle just doesn't do it justice, but slamming into the concrete wall that just isn't going to give. That's a bad crash. Gonna take it on board with Stephen Pollard III. Those accidents never quite do it justice, but that one, you can almost feel how awful that accident really is. And just thinking good thoughts for Stephen Pollard III. And we're hearing there was another accident down there at the same corner. Lars Van Schaik, right there into the concrete barrier, driver's side. Looked like he slowed down a whole lot more than what Stephen Pollard III did, but still a very heavy impact. Driver's side with DJ Curtis, one of our championship contenders. Here's a replay of it, and you know, Van Schaik's been slow all day. DJ Curtis is inside the top 10. He's in the midst of a championship battle. And Lars Van Schaik, it's just, he slowed down a whole lot more than what Stephen Pollard III did. But still, that's a very brutal accident. You can get a concussion from that just by simply pancaking the wall as hard as he did. Just no give over there at the concrete wall. The officials got to do something if they ever come back to Portland. That is uncalled for last time we were here with Fitzwater, him being out the rest of the season after hitting that exact same barrier. And, well, now 2 drivers in a very scary accident, and Paul III definitely was heading into the wall a whole lot faster than Lars Van Schaik, but still a heavy hit nonetheless. As for Curtis, a championship contender, was leading the point standings heading into Darlington, lost it after having some issues at Darlington, comes into this race 20 points behind, has damage, has to get damage repair, and he's going to lose more points to Jake Bassinger at this rate. And, well, title number 3 slipping through his grasp once again. Same thing that happened in 2021. Charlie Smith in the 76. A lot of people had high hopes of, Charlie doing really well here for today's race. The engine goes up in smoke, and Smith coming down pit road. The leader coming down pit road as well. Oh, Charlie Smith hits the barrier and is stopped right in front of oncoming traffic on pit road. The leaders, all top 3 contenders on pit road. Jake Bassinger, Ryan Butcher, Zayden Davidson had already pitted the lap before. I wonder if this is going to change the lead at all. Sanford, Srigley, Turner, and Ryan Butcher. Or actually, that's Eric DeMax. Here comes Marchese, Jeff James as well. Charles Sanford leaving pit road, and it looked like Joseph Srigley had maybe ran out of gas or something. The pit crew pushed him into a stall. Srigley was on pit road for a while, stalled right there, just before he got back to his pit stall. And Srigley's going to be sitting on pit road for an awful long time. There's Dylan Schwellenberg. But I'm looking in comparison, I don't think anybody passed him. I don't think anybody passed the leader, Charles Sanford. We're right here, but with 20 laps to go, I think Red Bull may have dodged a bullet in Sanford as well. Oh, Richard Johnson! That's the 3rd car today. And I don't even know how Dylan Schwellenberg was able to do that. There's not even a bumper. It's just the engine cover right there, the radiator. But he just spun Richard Johnson. And remarkably, as pit stops are cycling out, Dejon Weeks is on pit road. Dejon Weeks in the 30. An issue for the car 30. The engine has gone up in smoke and an engine failure just after pit stops. Monster Energy Racing getting spun with Richard Johnson by Dylan Schwellenberg, and an engine failure for car 30. And for Dejon Weeks, there's been so much points lost this season. A lot of what could have been for him. And for Weeks, searching for that first Sony Cup Series title, he's going to have to park it up and get a tow back to the pits. And it's unfortunately going to end up in a DNF. Unreal. With 12 laps to go, Charles Sanford's out front. And Dylan Schwellenberg is in 2nd position. That team had an issue with Lars Van Schaik right about a little past halfway in this race. He had to pit very early. He pitted when nobody had an issue in front of him. Remember, the leader literally got held up on pit road because of Charlie Smith. There was so much issues on pit road when everybody was pitting that Dylan Schwellenberg, when he was pitting for damage repair, he doesn't even really lose any time. And the fact that that car is still very quick with no hood speaks to the Rodriguez Racing Camp and how quick that 10 car is. Eric DeMax has moved past Jesse Turner. He's in the 3rd. Remember, Srigley had an issue. He was stalled on pit road for quite a long time. I'm surprised he's even back there outside of the top 10. DeMax, 3rd. 4th, Turner. 5th place is Matt Rodriguez. Rodriguez Racing right now 2nd, 5th, and 6th. Marchese running really well. Jake Bassinger trying to be Mr. Consistent and win the Sony Cup Series title in his final full-time season. Davidson in the top 10 where he needs to be. Ryan Butcher, a top 10 would be big for him today. Jacob Hart trying to hold on to a top 10 result. DJ Curtis trying to claw his way back into it. Curtis and Srigley, 11th and 12th. Benyako, Shelley, and Jeff James, the top 15. Car 16 is in 16th. Dylan Young, Cody Lamas, Bobby Jones, Sean Harple, and Kyle Collins is in the top 20 with less than 10 laps to go. Dom Capps Patrick Smith, Chris Dodd, Peter Onjak, Matt Taleo, Will Goss. 26 cars on the lead lap with Arndt, Baker, Mitchell Collins, and James Sorfox, the top 30, with about an 8-second lead over Dylan Schwellenberg. Charles Sanford is poised to go back to victory lane in more than 2 seasons. Here comes Jesse Turner to the outside of Eric Tamaxis, is going to try to get onto the podium positions, and Turner, last year's champion, still winless so far in the 2022 season. He's still hopeful that he'll find his way back into victory lane. Turner, along with Curtis. Curtis has already won this season, but he has a streak from all the way back to the 2015 season of winning at least one race every season. And, well, for Turner, I don't know if it'll come today, but really, just about anything can happen. You know, Dylan Schwellenberg's riding without a hood. Anything can happen to him. And then Charles Sanford, he's got to keep it on the racetrack. DJ Curtis really fighting hard against a fellow 2-time champion. Both drivers, Hart and Curtis, are 2-time champions of the series. And for Jacob Hart, for Team Velocity, he has not had a top 10 finish at all this season, but he's fighting with his all to try and get it for this race. Not a whole lot of people believe Jacob Hart will be back full-time for next season in any competition of the FBRL, much less the Sony Cup Series. And he's fighting hard against Curtis and Srigley. Curtis has found his way to the inside. Curtis needs to try and claw back any point possible. About 6 seconds up the road is Jake Bassinger, who is running very good in 7th position. Bassinger trying to extend his margin in the championship standings. And Curtis is going to get into 10th. Curtis looking to pick his way off another race car driver to the inside of Ryan Butcher. Butcher spins into the same wall everyone else has been crashing into. But good thing Butcher hit it sort of at an angle where it took a lot of the impact away from the driver. Butcher, at the same time, Curtis has spun somebody into that same wall. Butcher's going to drive away, but it's a shame because everyone on the grid and all the fans in the stands were hoping to see Ryan Butcher pull this one out. In the Sony Cup Series, Butcher was going to get a top 10 finish possibly for CM Racing. That just shows and speaks to the volume of how talented a race car driver Ryan Butcher is. And if somebody can get this guy into the Sony Cup Series, today it showed how talented he is behind the wheel. Curtis indirectly took it away from him, and Curtis is still out there, continuing on, but Jacob Hart and Joseph Srigley have worked their way by of DJ Curtis because of that bobble. On board with DJ Curtis. Every point's going to matter, so you needed to try and get by, but a mistake by Curtis, he nearly lost it there, allowed Srigley and Jacob Hart to go by. Matt Rodriguez has blown the engine. Rodriguez was in 5th position, and that's a shame, really. Rodriguez, usually he runs very solid, but last few weeks and last couple months, it's just not been his season, and it's been very rare to see Rodriguez win in the top 10 in the second half of the season, and running in the top 5's right where he needed to be, but an engine failure with only a couple laps to go is going to be like a gut punch to him. Well, Srigley to the inside of Davidson, and the pole sitter, Joe Srigley, I'm sure he's going to be happy with 7th place, but what could have been for HorizonGroup, they could have won today, I think. But Red Bull Racing, Charles Sanford, they look even better. And well, Jacob Hart's been promoted back in the top 10 again because Rodriguez Racing couldn't get Matthew Rodriguez to the checkered flag. That promotes Jacob Hart back in the top 10. Team Velocity gonna be very happy with that. But up at the front, Charles Sanford in car 83. There he is with 2 laps to go. Man, for Charles Sanford, he really desperately needs this in his career. Something to just revitalize his career. heading into next season, and for his duties in the FBRL, Sanford will be racing full-time for CM Racing for next season in the Hardee's National Series. And we know how good of a team they are in the Hardee's National Series. Sanford putting Dodd a lap down. Chris Dodd will be driving for CM Racing next season in the Cup Series. And, well, Dodd's very excited about that. He's had a tough task ahead of him all season, has Dodd, driving that 44, who has just not been up to the task, really. But the white flag is flying for Charles Sanford. Further back in second position, a great call by Dylan Schwellenberg and team. They take the white flag one more time around. That team, Dylan Schwellenberg was very aggressive early on in the race. Spun Lars Van Schaik and Sean Harple and even Richard Johnson for 3 cars during this race. Very controversial day for the 10 team and for the 10 driver. But Rodriguez Racing have taken the lessons that they had to learn as a pit crew from last season and applied it to this season. Repairing damage and deciding to take 4 tires and fuel was very crucial. They decided to play the long run at the very end. Everyone else pitted about 5 to 8 laps later than Dylan Schwellenberg, and he was able to make it to the flag in second position. Big points day for Dylan Schwellenberg, but it's Charles Sanford that's going to be victorious, going back to victory lane. Charles Sanford and Red Bull Racing win at Portland. Second position and big in the championship, Dylan Schwellenberg. Damage limitation, more like just reducing the championship lead entirely, not even having any damage, other than to the front of the hood, of course. Jesse Turner holds off Eric DeMax to get on the podium. Fifth position's Anthony Marchese. Sixth is Jake Bassinger. Seventh is Joseph Srigley. Eighth, Zayden Davidson. Ninth, DJ Curtis. And 10th for Team Velocity and Jacob Hart getting in the top 10. Alex Benyako had a really tough day all around. Finishes in 11th position. But major congratulations to Charles Sanford. This is Charles Sanford's 20th Sony Cup Series win, and it's been coming from a long time. Sanford is the 8th driver to ever win 20 or more races in the Sony Cup Series. He joins Nick Mace, DJ Curtis, Luke Martin, Richard Johnson, Jesse Turner, Jake Bassinger, and Eugene Max in that 20-plus win column. Winning 20 of anything is extremely tough to do. And, well, Sanford brings Red Bull Racing back to victory lane. And Red Bull Racing have had a whole lot of speed lately. And that shows a lot of promise for them. And heading into next season, they have momentum on their side. And congratulations to Charles Sanford on a big win today. And for Dylan Schwellenberg in the championship battle, this is huge for him to take what looked like was going to be a bad day and capitalized and made it a great day in second position. Turner third. That win's got to be coming soon for Turner. You know, 2015 through 2021, one win a season at least. But this season, it's just not happened quite yet. DeMax in the 0, a top 5. Anthony Marchese, another top 5 run for him. It's a shame for a lot of drivers that fell out near the end of the race, and in the second half of the race, they had a lot of potential, but it opened the door for a new driver to get a top 10 this season. Jacob Hart, 2-time champion. Don't know what his plans are for next season, but it's good to see him and Team Velocity have something to be proud of for today's race. And for Curtis in the 19 car, he had a lot of things go wrong today, but he managed to claw back to 9th and only lose 3 points to Jake Bassinger in the championship standings. Next race, we go to Pocono, and it'll be 6 races to go in the championship now. And, well, it's going to be very tough to beat Jake Bassinger, isn't it? And it's still anybody's game because Jake Bassinger only has about 20-point lead over Dylan Schwellenberg at this point, and anything can happen from here to Atlanta. And, well, we'll see you for next round at Pocono.